Hello, and welcome to our first of two special The Nutritionist webinars focused on dairy goat nutrition. I'm Marianne Fessenden of AMTS and host of this series. Our presenter today is Andreas Foskalos, Assistant Professor in Animal Science at the University of Thessaly. Dr. Foskalos' research in the University of Thessaly has an emphasis in cow breeding and focus on environmental pollution mitigation strategies. He graduated from the Department of Animal Production at Technological Institute, Larissa, Greece. Afterwards, he completed his master's studies in animal science at Wageningen University in the Netherlands and his PhD with Professor Sergio Calzamiglia at the Autonomous University of Barcelona. He worked as a postdoc researcher at Cornell University under Professor Michael Van Amberg's supervision. There, his research field focused on dairy cows' nutrition, improving the CNCPS, while he participated in several in vivo and in vitro trials. From 2015 until 2019, he worked as a research fellow at Aberystwyth, Wales, University in Wales, focused on dairy cows' precision nutrition. Andreas will focus today on genetics and production systems in dairy goats. His follow-up webinar on December 10th will be a closer look at dairy goat diet formulation. We're also pleased to have Dr. Tom Taluki from AMTS join us later this morning as a panelist. We are recording this presentation and it will be available in our webinars archives page with links to videos on our YouTube and Vimeo channels, along with our other archived nutritionist recordings back to 2015. You can also find a podcast of the webinar audio on our podcast link accessible from our Ag Model Systems website. Remember to put your questions in the Q&A tab or the chat window. I will ask, and Dr. Foskalos will answer the questions after the presentation. Now I'm going to turn the control of the screen over to Andreas. Andreas, if you would unmute and say hello to everyone while I do that, and we'll get on with the webinar.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I will try to share my screen.
Perfect. It's starting. So we're in very good shape.
Okay, so let's make some corrections first, Marian. Thank you very much for the introduction. The university is called Wageningen in the Netherlands. Sergio Calzamiglia, my professor.
I know. I knew I was doing it poorly.
Anyway, that's fine. I don't think they will mind. Sergio Calzamiglia is his name, and the university in Wales is Aberystwyth. Okay.
Aberystwyth. You're going to help me with these in December again, please.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So can I start? Is that okay?
Yes, please.
Okay. So today we are going to talk about dairy goats. Yeah. Before that, I would like to introduce you our lab. So the university is the University of Thessaly. I suppose that most of you don't really know where Thessaly is. Thessaly is in the center of Greece. It's a region that is covered by the sea in the Aegean, but also has mountains and plains. Within Thessaly, there are a couple of islands. I'm pretty sure that still you are not going to remember what Thessaly is or where Thessaly is in a couple of weeks. So I have a trick. I think that everybody knows this guy. Actually, it's not Brad Pitt in that film, it was Achilles. And Achilles was from Thessaly, so now you can correlate Thessaly with the land of handsome men.
We are going to assume all of you look like that.
No, unfortunately, I am from Athens, not from Thessaly. Okay?
It'll do. Well, you're just really smart then.
Okay. So we are pretty lucky because we have the sea next to us, not really us in the animal science department. The headquarters of the university is in the city of Volos, and this is the very nice building that they have. On the other hand, we are in the plain, we are in Larissa. Larissa is here in the center of Thessaly. And this is the campus Geopolis, where the Department of Animal Science is. In our lab, it's called Laboratory of Ruminant Livestock Farming. Our main duties is to teach the courses of small ruminant production, bovine production, and ruminant nutrition. We do research mainly on ruminant nutrition, but also on environmental pollution. We have a big project on nitrogen use efficiency. We do research on overall farm management. We have several European projects. We have projects from the Greek states funded and several projects from the industry. We have facilities for small ruminants, quite recent ones, you can see with the curtains, and also facilities for dairy cattle and calves. So with this, I will start the presentation. It's a pleasure to be with you. And the first thing I would like to talk about the word dairy. So when I first went to Wageningen University and later when I was in the States or the UK, everybody was referring to this animal. Dairy for most of the people is the dairy cow. And it's true that we have a lot of products, a lot of good products made out of that. That's the Greek yogurt, the amazing ice cream at Cornell University, Vla in Holland, the first dessert from cow's milk that I ever tasted, Parmesan cheese, I think that everybody knows Parmesan cheese, and of course the raw milk. But for me, the situation was quite different when I was young. For me, dairy is also this type of animals, the small ruminants. Here we see some goats in the parlor. And we have also specific products. In Greece, we have a lot of yogurt from small ruminants. It's not only the dairy, the cow milk that we are using to have to make yogurts. We have yogurt also for sheep or for goat milk. Of course, a lot of cheeses, soft ones or hard ones. And certainly we have a lot of raw milk from dairy goats. So dairy goats for me is something different. And the last 5-10 years, the situation has started to be quite to change in the world because goat milk is considered an alternative food. We do know that goat milk is more digestible. It has very good profile of amino acids. It has a very good concentrations of monosaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids. Several studies have shown that when it is consumed by children, they can have higher growth rates, better blood calcium concentration, and vitamin A concentration. The last 3 to 4 years, there is a lot of discussion about the allergies from milk, the A1 casein that provoke allergies, and this is the dominant protein in cow's milk. On the other hand, the goat milk has the A2 protein, and that's why even now we are starting to discuss how we will replace the cow milk with goat milk in infant formulas. This is not done yet, but a lot of people are doing research on this. All this situation is generating an interest, but at the same time, a lot of challenges for us that we are working with the dairy goat sectors. So the discussion of today is a result of several discussions that we had with Tom Tilutki, and Tom is very active in this. And when we started to discuss about the dairy goats, he said, okay, let's have some webinars. Actually, he pushed me a lot because he wanted to have it the next day. It is quite difficult. We didn't know where we should start from. That was our first problem. So we said that, okay, let's have a general discussion about goat farming. Let's have, let's see what the management strategies are in the Mediterranean. And then we can open with more webinars and discuss about nutrition or specific things that you have in mind, specific problems that you deal in your work. And if we cannot answer, we will find the right people to do it. So we try to get more webinars here with the AMTS and try to solve the main problems that we see in the farm. Today, I will give you an overview of the dairy goat farming. I will provide a Mediterranean perspective and mainly a Greek perspective on dairy goat farming practices. And we will discuss a little bit about challenges and opportunities. So the global milk production is about 843 million tons. It is dominated by cow milk, 81% in the world. Buffaloes come second with 15.1. Sheep and goat follow, okay, 2.2% of the world milk production, which actually is 18.7 million tons produced in 2018. And this production takes place mainly in Asia, 52%, Africa, 26%, Europe follows with 17%, and then America with 5%. If we see the European Union, the numbers are changing quite a lot, especially for the cow milk. The main milk produced in Europe is from cattle, 97%. And then we have sheep and goat is 1.3%. So we are talking about 2.3 million tons in Europe. And if we take the average price of 0.6 euro, 60 actually euro cents, then the whole market is about 1.4 billion euros. The countries that are produce goat milk are in this list, not all countries. And you can notice that the 3 Mediterranean ones, Greece, Spain, and France, are dominating the sector. It is very pleasant for us that also Netherlands follows. Netherlands had done an amazing work the last 10, 15 years with goat farming, dairy goat farming. And they have, I think in 2019 and 2020, they will probably have all the same or even more share of the market compared with Greece. Okay? But there we will probably have a different type of farming, mainly intensive dairy farms. So for today, I will focus only in these 3 countries, Spain, France, and Greece, that they have about 64% of the production. And this is translated into about 0.9 billion euros. So the Mediterranean farming, the goat sector, it's quite complex and dynamic. There are 3 main variables that affect it, which is the environment, the local society, and the local cultures in each country. All these will affect the typology of farms that we find in the field, and the typology of the farms will define the profitability. And the profitability defines the sustainability, and the sustainability goes back and affects these factors. The main factor is the environment, and we are not only talking about climate. Climate, of course, is the main variable here that defines the agronomic conditions, the feed, the breed, what we will find, but also the socioeconomic conditions. Imagine that these fields are probably in France, okay, with good pasture, the goats are outside grazing. We have less good pastures in the Mediterranean, okay, the soil is not that rich. And of course, during summer, you can see this type of conditions, or even this type of conditions, like a desert, no? So to be honest, this picture is from Crete, and probably the only animal that can survive in this type of situations is the goat. So climate is important, but not only climate. The local societies, the local communities define the socioeconomic conditions, are the ones that are going to bring the labor, if it is from the family or hired. The tradition is very important in these communities, and the culture. The culture will define the final product, which in most of the cases is cheese or yogurt, but also the socioeconomic conditions. Let's see some specific aspects of dairy farming in the Mediterranean. This is a term that the European Union is using quite a lot about the less favored areas. We are talking about areas that they have uncertain rainfall, the soil is pretty poor, there is limited access to the market, the population density is pretty low. Okay, young people would like to immigrate either within the country or abroad. And in these countries, there is whatever we call rural. Okay, rural life, preservations, but also the growth that we can have, the economic growth in this area, in order to make sure that they will survive and they will continue in the future. In this type of areas, the goat farming and actually the whole small ruminant sector will be the main income source. Farming is coming from family, low quality foods. Mainly we are using local breeds. There is a low production, extensive units, but extensive systems, but the system is highly subsidized by the European Union. Another aspect that shifted a little bit the sector the last probably 10, 15 years after 2000 is what we call the agritourism. You've seen the pictures before. We are talking about, not because it's Greece, also in Italy, in Spain, in France, we are talking about landscapes with unique beauty. They have islands. Greece is not only islands, but also mountains. We can do sports activities. There is a lot of tourism coming in Greece, in Spain, in France. For example, in Greece, we are receiving more than 20 million people every year. There is a unique architecture and products. And of course, you all know that this is one of the best places to do your vacations. In these places, and especially in some islands, the agritourism has been developed. And there we are talking about secondary income source, that is the goat farming. There is a family farming, not much labor from abroad. There is a diverse feeding. We have small scale production, local breeds. You can find some semi-intensive units there, but they are not very frequent. And also this sector was highly subsidized until recently, okay? The thing that actually changes everything is the protected destination origin, the products that have specific flavor, specific organoleptic characteristics, either for cheese or yogurt, and all this adds value to the final product. This is what guarantees a good price for the farmers. What we can find in this type of areas, in this type of production, everything. We can have intensive system, we can have extensive, we can have whatever you can imagine. So the typology of goat farming in the Mediterranean can go from extensive farms to intensive farms, and we have several categories in between. The first one, the sedentary extensive and the transhuman, is the traditional system of goat farming. We are talking about low input, low output systems. They take advantage of the natural pasture, the natural grasslands. We mainly have local breeds that are very well adaptive to the environment conditions, like the picture that I showed you before with the goats in Crete. We are talking about small to medium scale farms. The family labor is problematic because young people do not want to continue working in this type of farming systems. The semi-intensive, which is a little bit more modern, we are talking about a medium input high, trying to be high output system. We can have natural or cultivated grasslands. Here we use the local, or what we call the industrialized breeds. I don't like the term high milk breeds or improved ones. I think the industrialized is the best word to describe it here. We have medium to large scale farms. We are using family, but also external labor. Mechanization like milking, etc. is implemented and probably is the more suitable for high producing local breeds. Finally, we can see the intensive system. This is the high input, high output. We might have cultivated grasslands, but here we are using also silages. For sure, we need to have improved breeds. We need to use the industrialized breeds. We find in this type of farms, the large scale farms, we use a lot of external labor and there is a high level of mechanization. So in this paper that you can see here, sometimes I will refer to papers as well. So you can go back and see this work done from Paulina and co-workers from Spain, Greece, France. They try to describe the dairy goat sector in Europe. And here I took some numbers out of them. Greece has the highest number in goats, 4.2 million heads, followed by Spain and France. We have also a lot of farms, 15,000 dairy farms. 70,000 are in Spain and 5,000 dairy farms are in France. The dose per farm are like 100 in France, 160 in Greece, and only 63 in Spain. This is small scale production, but the milk yield per doe is quite different. In France, we have high milk yields of almost 600 liters per year, lower in Greece, 250, and something in between for Spain. What is important to see here is the dairy specialization. In Spain is only 57%, meaning that meat is also important in these farms. 87 in Greece, because also here in Greece the kids meat is quite important, and 91 in France. What we can say about the systems here in these countries is that the dominant system in France is the semi-intensive and intensive. In Greece, the dominant system is the extensive, even though we have a lot of farms. It's about 20% of the entire sector that they are in the semi-intensive and intensive system, but the dominant is extensive. And in Spain, we see a transition from the traditional systems, the extensive systems, into more intensive systems. The breeds that we are using, they can be either local or what I like to call industrial. Here we are talking about hundreds of breeds. Of course, I'm not going to describe all of them, just the most important. The local breeds are well adapted to the environment. Okay, they are raised traditionally, like the Sarda in Italy or the Greek goat in Greece. We find a lot of animals that are crossbreeds. For example, in Greece, we import Alpine or Damascus and we cross them with our own local breed. Usually are low to medium milk production. One of the examples is the Greek goat. Okay, you can see that it's not uniform. The color can be from brown to dark to white. It is not stabilized genetically. You can find it all over Greece. There are some efforts the last years that they are trying, especially in some islands, to standardize the breed and have it as a separate breed. Usually it's a small weights breed. The does are between 30 and 50 kilograms. Male are heavier, of course. The lactation length is around 170 days. Milk production is low, is up to 150 kilograms per year. Prolificacy is quite high, 1.6 kids per doe. I told you already that the meat part of the sector is quite important for us. If we see the industrial breeds, I think the champion here is Zanen. Okay, it is from Switzerland, but it has a worldwide spread. There are national breeders associations all over the world. I think it's the dominant breed in the US also. Quite heavier animals, 60 to 85 kilos for the does, 80 up to 120 for the bags. The lactation length can go up to 300 days. And as I said before, this is the champion. There is a wide range of milk production per year. This is the official average of the breed, 1,300 kilos per year. In France, the average is 945, and the maximum, there are a lot of animals that they can give more than 2,000 kilos per year. Prolificacy is a little bit lower than the Greek breeds, it's between 1.4 and 1.6. The other important breed is the Alpine from France. French traditionally have very good breeding programs. I will speak about this a little bit later. General description of the breed is that the does are between 50 and 70 kilos. Females are heavier, they can go up to 100 kilos. Lactation length 290 days. We can see an average of from 300 to 1,200. The average in France is 890 kilos, and you can find a lot of animals that they are more than 1,000. Just a few words about the breeding programs in France. I think that the French people are pioneering this. They did a great job with Lacan, and they are still doing a great job with Alpine and Zanen. Right now, based on the literature, they have 1,827,000 pedigree files with 4.1 generations. With progeny testing, they select around 200 bucks per year. They grow them and they see the sanitary conditions, but also how they grow, and they select 80 out of them. And again, with on-farm progeny, they do artificial insemination. They control at least 80 daughters. They select the 30 to 30 best male in order to collect semen. And this is the elite, and this is how they improve the breed. And they have amazing results so far, because within 30 years of this program, the average milk yield was 12 kilograms per year. Okay, and this is amazing, this is very impressive, and they have done a very good job. last breed, because I'm Greek and that's why I'm from Thessaly and I want to present it to you. It's the Skopelos breed. Skopelos it's an island actually in Thessaly. There are several breeding programs the last 10, 20 years. Right now we are having under breeding program 10,000 does. This breed is mainly in Thessaly, in the island of Skopelos and the mainland. Small scale, small weight animals, 55 to 60 kilograms, the female around 70 to 75 male. Lactation length can be up to 200 days. The average of the breed in milk yield is 250 to 350, but we have a lot of animals that they are more than 800 kilograms per year. Next step is the management. So what we need to have in mind about dairy goats, and I'm sorry if I'm very basic to that, is that there is seasonal mating, so they need seasonal management. At the same time, we need to group within herd because, for example, in Greece, we need to have kids in different periods. Most important period is the period of Easter, and we need to have kids there. And a lot of the industries are asking us to provide milk all year. Okay, and this is one of the challenges. So this is the productive cycle of the goat. Okay, everything starts with parturition. Yes, I'm not kidding. Parturition is the starting point. We have the sucking period between 80 and 90 days, and then we start milking the does for about 210 days. In between, we need to have the breeding season, the mating period. Usually it's around 210 days from kidding. And then we have 2 seasons of dry period, one that they are fed in maintenance and the other that we are trying to prepare them for the births. So having this in mind, and also that the pregnancy in goats is 5 months, and that the average age in first mating in Greece is 9 months. This is not the same in France. I think in France it's 12 months. We can make some calculations. So if we set up the mating period as time 0, then we have the parturition at month 5, weaning at month 8, and have in mind that the first mating time will be, as I said, 9 months after parturition. So this will be 14. So if we go in a herd and we'll see how they manage it, we will see that in Greece, the majority of the mating period starts in July. Okay, some intensive farms, they will do it in June, but the majority will be in July. So having that in July, starting point, okay, not the ending point, that's a starting point, means that the kidding will start in December and weaning will start in March. And this is the best time because Easter is between March and April. So we will have kids for the market. As I said, the first mating for the duelings is in September. It's 14 months after parturition. So the first parturition of the first ones will be in February, and we will have also in May some young ones, some kids, in order to provide for the summer. This is a typical management for a farm that decides to have the mating period in June. Some other farms, especially in the north, are choosing to start in the fall. So this is important because this will give you the range for its period. Mating period will be from July till October. The kiddings will be from December till March. Weaning will stop in July, so you will have kids all this period. The milking period can be up to 210 days. This is the maximum. A lot of extensive farms will stop in August or July because of the heat stress. And of course, the dry period will be here or will be extended for them. Why is this important? Because in the semi-extensive systems or in the extensive systems, we need the pastures. Okay, we need the cultivated ones that they are available generally from January to June. We have the natural pastures that they are available all year round, but the quality is not the same. We have residues from the cereal production mainly during summer, and the vegetable crop residues later. This changes quite a lot. This example is from a region in South Greece. As you go up north, the months would change a little bit. So the breeding management practices that we use quite a lot in Greece is flushing. Okay, so this is a paper, actually, let me introduce the paper. This is a paper that did a typology analysis with dairy goat farms. And this range comes out of the clusters that they define there. So between 2 and 27%, they will use the flushing as technique. The back effect will be from 16 to 50. Most of the farms are going to use the steaming up practice, 60 to 77%. Estrus synchronization is quite common, but artificial insemination is not. It's less than 1%. Most of the farmers do not choose to inseminate their does. So with this, we will go to challenges and opportunities. Okay, so the first question that we need to answer is if we go for intensive or extensive. This is an intensive farm, very nice, very clean, very new. Windows here, curtains, a place to have the feed wagon to pass if you want to feed a TMR, a very nice place to work, no? This is an extensive farm, and even though the landscape is very beautiful, it's close to the sea, this is your building now, of very low cost. I don't know if this you call it a pasture, but this is where the goats are. And I'm pretty sure that the majority of you will choose the intensive system than the extensive system. I don't know if it is a wise decision. This is a work that we did, and I'm sorry for the Greek, it's published only in Greece. This is a work that we did several years ago in the Department of Animal Science, and it was a guide, a financial guide for new farmers. And there they analyzed the cost of first establishment for a 200 dairy goat intensive farm, and they saw that the total cost is about 214,000 euros. So this is like 1,000 per goat, okay? The land was only 2% of the total cost, not very expensive. Expensives were here, the premises, the equipment, 44.4 and 32.7, that was quite expensive. And the animals were the 16.3% of the total cost. Continuing the analysis, we have the operating cost of per year, and the highest cost are the feeds, okay, 25,000 almost. Some expenses for supplies like vaccination, antibiotics, and labor, which is quite cheap. The total operating cost in this type of farm is 43,000 euros. If we see the income, we will see that the main income comes from milk. This is 40,000 euros, but also meat, 14. So generally, the income with operating costs can give quite a profit, and I put profit in brackets because we didn't count for several things, and mainly the reality that this can be a new farm for a new farmer, and even though you can get some subsidies from the state or the European Union, you will still have to get some loans. And the loan installment with this scheme is 9,000. Still quite profitable, okay? Especially if the cost of labor goes to the family. But what about capital depreciation? So if we add capital depreciation, then the whole operation for an intensive farm will be negative. Probably this is the reason why during the recent economic crisis in Greece, when the goat sector received a lot of pressure, not only the goat sector, all farming sectors, all animal production received a lot of pressure. I will give you an example for that. Dairy cow farmers reduced by 75%. So 75% of the dairy cow farms closed during the economic crisis. That was not exactly the case for the extensive farms of dairy goats. They were more resilient and they survived the economic crisis. If you see the Eurostat, for example, dairy goat population was reduced by 20% these years. And what stayed quite without big problems were the extensive systems. So these are also things that we need to take into consideration depending on the country that you are, if you want to go for intensive or extensive management. Milk availability, this is another challenge. Okay, there are people that are proposing to have all year kidding, something similar to dairy cow. I don't think it's a good idea. I say that since the beginning. I don't think that we can run dairy goat farms like this. Grouping probably is the better choice. There are several tools that we can use in order to have milk all year, like synchronization, artificial lighting. People are suggesting to allow bugs in the doe herd all year. I don't think this is good. We cannot treat animals individually. Okay, this is the third, number 3. We cannot treat animals individually. We have to see the herd. And actually the best solution here is to have different groups in the same farm. And I will start discussing about that. We can use the photoperiodic control of reproduction, okay, to play between short and long days. We do know that testosterone levels increase during the short days and decrease with the long days, and that ovulation starts during short days and ends during long days. So if we want to have this type of management, we can have the first period of long days for male animals, and then to allow them to be in natural photoperiod, and to use the male effect for the female. This means to introduce the bugs into the premises with a non-pregnant does. This has quite good results, but have in mind that in order to play with the photoperiod, we need to have good farms. We need to have many intensive systems there. So the second and most important way to do that is to have the estrus synchronization and artificial insemination. So this is something pretty common. We use Vangelan sponges in order to synchronize estrus and frozen semen, and we do artificial insemination. So the results from France, they say that 60 to 7% success rate with this type of technique. So this is a way to synchronize the herd in different periods and have milk all year around. The other way, another solution to this is to extend kidding interval. Before we go into that, we need to see the lactation curve, because this is the key to achieve this. So this is the lactation curve of a cow, okay, a dairy cow, and this is the main example that we have. The cow will peak after a few days and then will go down. The milk production will be reduced, and depending on the peak, you can have cows with different milk production. Within this curve and this mathematics, persistency is the ability of the animal to maintain yield after peak. So the reduction here to be higher or lower, this is the persistency. If we see the curve of a goat, and this is work that was done in Spain with Murciano Granadina dairy goat, the difference has to do with the region in this graph, the region that the goats were farmed, okay? But the shape of the curve is more or less the same and has the same characteristics with the dairy cow. We cannot compare cows and goats with these ones, but there are people from Wageningen University that they did it, Jan Dijkstra and all the other modelers, not only from Wageningen, but also other universities with mechanistic models. And this is the curve of a dairy cow, and this one is of a dairy dog, okay? Still, we cannot compare them because the values are different, but what they did is to scale everything, okay, up to 1, and here you can have the persistency for a cow, and this one, the persistency for the goats. So cows and goats have higher persistency compared with sheep, okay, but there is a discussion here that the goats are similar to cows or that they have higher persistency than cows, and this is not really correct. how we can use that. This is the question. How, first of all, we can regulate this, how we can affect it, and then how we can use it in management. So the lactation curve, we know that is a result of genetics and nutrition. We are not going to get into the discussion of what is more important than the other. That's not a realistic discussion, at least for now. We do know that cows may, or those may have a genetic potential, but if you don't treat them well, if you don't feed them well, if the environment is not correct, they will never express it. So it's something for both, okay? It's genetics and nutrition, not one or the other. From the work that they did in Spain, we can see that the litter size affects it, okay? We have a single animal, a single kid here, no, excuse me. Yes, here, and the lactation curve is different. With 2 is here, and with 3 is here. Excuse me, 3 is here, the highest, okay? 2 in the middle, and 1 kid will give you a lower milk production, okay? This is one factor that affects it, and the other is the number of lactation. First year will be lower, second much higher, and then after the third or the fourth, they didn't go more in this study. It will be quite stable and it will go as highest as possible. Now, what they show also that the kidding season is important. Okay, you have animals that they will kid in spring, in this one. Okay, the highest will be the ones in the summer, and the lowest will be the ones in the winter. The region was also important, as I said before, and all these factors, these 2 factors, will tell you that nutrition is important because these are dominated from pasture availability and quality in this type of systems. So both genetics and nutrition will affect the lactation curve and the persistency of it. And this is actually shown by a study from in France. This was done with Zanen and Alpine goats, and they have several curves here, and they did the principal component analysis, and they said that the main 3 factors, there are 3 principal components in the lactation curve: the total milk yield, the persistency, and the mid-lactation milk yield. And trying to define what are the factors that affect it, they said that the estimated breeding value, let's say the genetics of that, and the region will affect the total milk yield. Kidding season, the breed, also genetics, nutrition, genetics, and the stage of gestation will affect the persistency. And the kidding season will affect the mid-lactation milk yield. For all 3 of them, the most important variable was the herd. Okay, so management, nutrition, and genetics. How we can use this approach to extend the lactation has been shown from a group in the Autonomous University of Barcelona, and they have goats that they kid in 12 months interval or 24 months interval. What is most important is the milk yield, no? So the milk yield for these animals is presented in this graph. These with the black line, the black color, are those that had 12 months interval, and you can see you can start the milk production here, then it drops in the dry period, no milk production, and goes up again. While the ones that they had 24 months interval, they went high, they continue like this, and the persistency was pretty good in the second year. Okay, so comparing these 2, the milk production was not different. There is a numerical difference here, but that was not statistically significant. And practically the difference here is only 100 kilos. What was statistically significant was the differences in composition. Okay, this is fat and here is protein. And what they've seen is that the total solids were higher for 24 months of kidding interval. And that was a benefit for cheese making. We don't know anything about the profitability of the farm that will do this type of management. I know that in the UK are managing herds like this because they are not really interested on kids' meat. in Spain, but also in Greece, kids meat is quite important for the profitability of the farm. So I know that I went quite fast. I'm really sorry about this. Okay, as a summary, we can say that goat milk is an alternative food, is considered a superfood the last 10 years, and this drives the demand. Okay, we expand the dairy goat systems, but we need to consider if this will be done in an extensive or intensive system. We have several challenges, and the most important is that we need to have we need to have milk the whole year. We can do it either with multiple breeding seasons within the herd, or some people are doing it in the same region, some herds with one season and some herds in the other, in order to provide milk all year. And of course, the extended kidding interval. Before we continue, and as I said before, it was like having a general discussion about goat farming, dairy goat farming. The next one has to do with nutrition and will be much more specific there. In order to understand where are you coming from, what your interests are, because we can have several discussions about this. If we have formulation, we might have TMR, we can have several topics to discuss. I developed a questionnaire that will help me to focus the next talk. So with this, I would like to thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Andreas. We will get to the questions soon. Start typing them in the question window or the chat window. I can monitor both. But in the meantime, I'm going to take back remote control, or I'm going to take back the screen, and I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we go on to the next one. So bear with me because I cannot click and talk at the same time. So let's see, I think I've got the right one. All right. So as Andreas said, we will have our second follow-up webinar, which will be more specific on nutrition in December on the 10th. And I will maintain my list of people who signed up for this one and also send it out again. So there'll be, if you're on this list, you'll be getting the webinar link again, but I'll also add to it anybody that comes later. And please, I will also send a link to that questionnaire that Andreas sent out. I'll try to get this recording produced quickly up to this afternoon or tomorrow so that you have a maximum amount of time to look at that. So as we said, we're going to have our next webinar in December on the 9th. Please attend. Also, I am responsible for the Nutritionist 21 webinars. And if this is your first time joining us, we run these multinational webinars on the second Thursday of the month, February through December, and we offer them at 2 times on the same day. So we do it at 9 o'clock for you people who are in a hemisphere that perhaps our 6 o'clock slot is a bit late or early in the morning for. So we have a 9 a.m. Eastern time webinar and a 6 p.m. Eastern time webinar. We do end up running into confusion with daylight savings. We try to run our webinars consistently for the Argentinian audience who don't jump back and forth. So you'll see as you look at the schedule that we'll end up having a 5 p.m. or a 6 p.m. depending on whether we're on standard time or daylight savings. We're excited by the new format that Tom Taluki, our CEO, introduced in September, Nutritionists. With the COVID lockdowns in so many countries and the virtual cessation of travel, we came to realize how hungry people were to see something different. Tom took us in the field with a video so real we could almost smell the feed and the manure. We decided to step away from desks and take an entire season into the barn. Our speakers were chosen for their applied focus. You can see our speakers are selected to showcase a range of global perspectives with speakers from the USA, Canada, South Africa, Italy, Brazil, and the UK. Join us next year. And by the way, most of these are all going to be focused on dairy cow nutrition. But as we have demonstrated with this webinar, we are very flexible and can add in additional webinars if we get a really great response and request for more goat nutritionist webinars. We may have to lean on Andreas some more for that. So finally, we're going to thank our sponsors, and they're getting a bonus call out this time because usually we don't have webinars past November. We're going to thank our gold sponsors, Arm & Hammer Animal Health, makers of cattle feed ingredients that optimize dairy cow health, and the Canola Council of Canada. Learn more about feeding canola at canolamazing.com. Our silver sponsors are Ajinomoto Heartland, superior nutrition through amino acids, makers of AgiPro L, Dairyland Laboratories, and Virtus, makers of Strata with EPA, DHA, omega-3s, and Preco, the omega-6s. Our bronze sponsors are Dairy One Forage Laboratory, AminoMax, Adiseo, Purdue Agribusiness, PMI, and SoyChlor. Each of these companies support education and research worldwide. We hope that you consider them in your formulation decisions. I'm going to open the floor up for questions. We have quite a few, but we will go through them. And I'm going to encourage my co-hosts, which we have Tom Tolucci joining us, and Andreas is there. Obviously, please open your mics. And Andreas, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and go back to you sharing so that you can navigate to whatever slide you would like to. So
thank you.
Say hi, all.
Okay, so we have several nice questions here, okay, that I will try to answer most of them.
Okay, Andreas, I'll start off reading them.
No, that's okay. I will go through, don't worry.
Oh, no, usually I read them aloud so that everybody has the benefit, especially when we do recordings. I'm not entirely certain the questions show up. So this way we'll have a record on the recorded webinar of the question that you're answering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to start out at the top. Did you talk a little bit more in depth about milk components, fat and protein that you see in Europe for alpines? And I'm an American. I can't say weird words. SAANENS.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So the standard values that we see in textbooks about the breeds, it's fat at 3.4% and proteins at 3%. Okay, there are very nice pages on the web that you can visit if you Google it. And you can find some breeders associations also from Italy, France, and Germany, and they have other values there, more concrete values.
Do you see different pricing depending upon the components in the milk?
The pricing is different. In the Mediterranean, you are getting paid based on your fat and protein, the solids.
Okay. Because you mentioned that it's better for cheese production.
Yes.
And since most of your milk is used that way. Okay. Let's see. There's a question. The possibility of extending lactations, is it due to labor demands for kidding? Is that a challenge? And what is kid mortality after kidding? We'll combine those two.
Yes. I mean, we have to balance between two things. For sure, we will have more labor. For sure, we will have more kidding. But if you can see the income, okay, so more than 1/5 of the income is coming from meat. We didn't do any study to see the benefits of that. We haven't seen any financial study, but if the meat production is important for a sector, for a country, then this needs to be considered.
So the studies that you referenced with the 12-month and 20 versus the 24-month kidding, that was primarily in the UK? They said that you see those sort of systems?
That was in Spain. The study was done in the Autonomous University of Barcelona.
Okay. And did they look at all at the income?
They didn't do any financial analysis of that. They just saw that the milk production was the same, was not significantly different, and that fat and protein yield was higher for the 24 months. but they didn't translate this into financial gains.
Right. I wondered if, due to the different components, whether there would be a comparable
My
increase.
opinion on this is very simple. If the meat is important for the country, then with extended lactations, you will lose income. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Moving to the next question. How do you handle heat stress in your regions, and what management is in place for the intensive farms specifically?
That's a very good question. Very good question. I mean, in extensive farms, and that's why we have a maximum of 200 days in milk, of 200 days milking. Most of the farms they will stop milking during in August. Okay. We don't, in intensive farms, even though there is technology, is not really implemented. There is technology from dairy cows, okay,
Right.
but in dairy goat farms is not really implemented. You can see some funds there, but not really real technology in the field.
Okay. Thank you. In the graph that you showed, that it was that he wanted to make sure he understood that
Yes.
triplets produce more milk per lactation.
Yes, they do. That's the results from Murciano Granadina breed. Let me show to you again. This one. Yeah. So the triplets, this one, they produce more milk than twin or single.
And how is there subsequent the next lactation after a triplet birth?
I don't understand the question.
So in dairy, we tend to try to avoid twinning, and always the idea is that it's perhaps tougher on the animal, and subsequent lactations are maybe not as good. How is that at all a factor in goats?
Marian, I just said that dairy is also goat, no?
Oh, no, I know. I'm so sorry. Cows, cattle.
Yes, okay. So yes, cows are totally different. Totally
Yes.
different in this aspect with goats. So we don't have see this type of problems with goats. They can have triplets and they have no problem in the next lactation.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, that's a question that occurs to us, uneducated people. Could you clarify the term steaming up when talking about
Yes.
breeding?
So steaming up is the supplementation of concentrates before parturition. Okay, and if you remember, I saw in the productive cycle here, this, okay, that this is the dry period, the second step of the dry period. This is where we prepare the dose to get into the parturition. And the steaming up process is to supply concentrate for that.
Okay. Thank you. If AOC defined goat milk products in Greece are more profitable for the farmer, and they are based on certain breeds and extensive production systems, are the newer intensive goat dairies making their milk into new products?
No, and that's one of the big discussions on how the PDO products are finally produced. Milk from intensive farms, even if the breeds are local or not, will be used in the PDO products.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Do you know anything about the sinking options in the US with progesterone? Will the buck effect bring does in out of season with the US without photoperiod manipulation of does?
So singing options there are in the US a lot. I mean, there are hundreds of papers there. There are protocols in the field. I mean, it's not difficult to find a protocol to synchronize estrus in dairy goats. The back effect without the photoperiodic manipulation will not really work. These are the results that we have from the literature that a lot of times they tried just with introducing the bugs into the herd to promote to promote mating, but this doesn't really work if you don't have the photoperiod manipulation before.
Andreas, with that said, what is the hours of daylight darkness for the different photoperiod times?
I have to check. I don't remember by mind. I have the paper here, but I don't remember.
Okay.
Long days, I think, is more than 8, something like that. It is defined, but I don't remember exactly the hours.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. First of all, thank you for the presentation from this questioner. Could you please expand on what you think is the best system, intensive versus extensive, and maybe talk about the differences in terms of animal welfare and contribution to climate change, for example, greenhouse gas emission production?
Okay, that's a huge topic.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure with Virgilio we will disagree in many things. Okay, so there is no best system. It's not intensive or extensive. This depends on the production in each region, in each country. So, for example, the PDO cheeses, they are based on specific systems, as we said before, extensive systems mainly. Okay, even though many PDO cheeses are not very much defined. Okay, then this leaves the window open to have also the intensive systems to be in the game, let's say. Animal welfare and climate change. So I have in mind I'm pretty sure that now will provoke differences, and they can chat and they can say if someone wants the microphone, that's fine. Generally, I think that the extensive systems pollute more. Okay, they pollute more per kilogram of output. So what we have animals because they produce milk and meat. We don't have them because they are nice animals. At the end, we need to get milk. So the greenhouse gas emissions should be expressed per kilogram of milk produced. And in this case, the extensive systems are not as efficient as the intensive systems.
Yes, we had a speaker this summer with regards to dairy cattle that touched on this, Jude Capper in the UK. But if any of our listeners out there do have some additional information about this and want to just raise their hand, I can promote you so that you can open your mic while we go through the rest of the questions. So if there's anybody that has specific knowledge in this area, we'd be glad to hear your contribution. So moving on to the next question, do you have any comments on odd and short chain fatty acid levels in goat milk relative to dairy cow milk for health and also for higher digestibility?
Yes, I said since the beginning that this is the driving force. Okay, a lot of people seeing the fatty acid profile of goat's milk, and they compare it with the fatty acid profile of dairy cows, of cattle milk. They consider that it's better, and it is better. Okay, from a health point of view. Digestibility is also higher. So that was my first slide. I don't know if you need numbers on that, but this is the driving force, okay? That is more digestible and has higher concentration of monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids.
Are any of those factors influenced at all by post-production processing?
Yes, but then it's the same between cow milk and goat milk, no?
Yes. I asked because here in the United States, if we can obtain goat's milk, I believe that it's usually ultra pasteurized and homogenized.
Mhm.
All right. Um, Next question is, you said that in the Netherlands, dairy goat milk production has increased and they have totally different climate compared to the Mediterranean one. What do you think is the reason for this increase? And multiple factors.
Okay. Yes, they have a different climate and they have different system. The system there is mainly intensive, not extensive. And the reason is one, it's profit. They saw that the market needs more milk. I mean, generally in the commerce, the data are very good. They saw that there is a market there, and they produced the product that the market needed.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Are there breed differences in lactation persistency? And I think you did discuss that. Are there any health or nutrition considerations with extended lactation?
So yes, there are breed differences. Breed is one of the factors that will affect the lactation curve. Okay, uh, I didn't show that, but the study from France was done with Alpine and Zanen. No, I didn't bring this. If he who asked that? Anonymous. Okay. No, Marlene was her name. So if you see the paper, you will get the information that you want between these two breeds, Zanen and
Okay.
Alpine. Yes, there are. And about
And-
health and nutrition considerations, I don't think there are. I mean, not negative in that sense. Okay, nutrition will continue as usual. And health, in some cases, if you have one parturition instead of two, then the health status of the herd will be better.
Okay, yeah, and I just so for listeners, we will include a PDF of the presentation so that you can check references, some of the papers that Andreas referenced. This next question, how important is dry period when breeding? What is the optimal dry period before kidding? Is there any research on milking right through the dry period, dropping kids and keeping on milking?
Okay, so I mean, dry period is crucial for the next lactation. Okay, and this is not only for goats but also for cows. I always say to my students that the dry period is the pit stop of the cow. Like in the Formula One, the car will go for a pit stop. The same thing we have to do with the cow. Okay, that's my personal opinion. There is a lot of research with cows. I haven't seen research with goats about that.
Does seasonality lead to product availability issues? And are there seasonal milk pricing differences? Or is it mostly linked to the components?
No, seasonality leads to problems in the market. So, for example, you have to produce cheese in a specific period of time, and probably you need to sell them all year around. So you need to preserve them. For example, the second problem comes with the raw milk. If you don't milk cows for goats for 2 months, then you will not have raw milk in the market. So it's a market-oriented issue.
Are there any benefits to producers who are able to supply those products economically in the off periods?
Yes, they take a better price.
Okay.
They receive a better price for the milk. And I said in the beginning that also, for example, if you have kids during summer, you will get a better price than having the kids in Easter. So this goes for the meat part of the business.
Okay, thank you. Are there any systems that do not include a suckling period? Like would intensive systems maybe feed their kids? And are there what gains might that yield in those intensive production systems?
There are the intensive systems. They will not have a sampling period. This is very common in cows, but it's very 100% in cows. It is very common in sheep, but also in goat farming. You will do it with milk replacer.
Okay, thank you.
Intensive systems only.
Yep. And how do those calves grow, or I'm sorry, those kids grow on not on their mothers?
My personal opinion is this: if you have good milk replacer, you have no problem. If you don't have a good milk replacer, you will have a high mortality.
That seems like the story with dairy cows too.
Yes, exactly the same.
Yeah.
And some farmers, they are afraid to do that because they have high mortality. But the problem in most of the cases is the milk replacer. If you choose to feed them with a very cheap milk replacer that doesn't have the enzymes and the quality, then of course you will have mortality. And the second part has to do with the barn. If the barn is clean, if there is no contamination, etc.
Okay. So I have a question from one of our listeners in Egypt. Based on the study that you presented, the annual profit rate is 11%, and this means that the investor needs 9 years to recover the financial assets of the project. Is that economical?
I don't see the question, but can you repeat it? Because
Yes, it's in the chat window. So based on the presented study,
yes,
and this was the intensive
financial analysis, no?
Yeah, I believe this was in the intensive.
Yes, this for the intensive. It's here. Okay.
Yep. And it said the profit rate is 11%, and this means that an investor needs 9 years to recover the financial assets of the project. Sorry, is this economical? Was the question.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. That if
Yeah.
you have the capital depreciation included in your analysis, then the whole balance will become negative. And that's the big issue with new farmers, that they want to build a new intensive farm and they have to invest a lot of money and they will never take them back.
Okay. And I do have some questions that were emailed to me, but they are very specific nutritional questions. So I will forward those to you, Andreas, and they'll get covered in our next webinar. Returning to the Q&A window, what do you have issues with pregnancy toxemia?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Next question, average number of lactations per doe in different countries. What is your insight on that?
In different countries? No.
Yes.
I don't remember. I can find out this. I can answer in the next one. I think this type of formation is quite easy to find in Google.
Okay. So moving to the next one, we see some grass-only dairy cattle farms. Are there any goat dairies exclusively dependent on grass/forage only nutrition systems? And are the the grass forage only dairies able to maintain milk production equal to grain supplemented operations?
So 100% grass forage you can find in very extensive systems. Yeah, you can find a small portion, but almost everyone will give at least in specific periods some concentrate feed. But
Okay.
you can find in very low input, low output systems. Yes, you can find.
And is the milk from those systems, is that like here with dairy cows, grass-fed only
Yes.
gets a premium?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Let's see, the long lactation in the Netherlands. This is proposed not to kill the male kids. What do you think of that?
Okay, yeah. We're talking about cows now, not goats. Okay, the male kids in Greece, you don't kill them because they will bring you like 20% of your income. You will sell them for meat. So we want them. We want to have low mortality, and we want them to have to grow. In the Netherlands, probably yes. I don't know how much of kid meat is consumed in the Netherlands, and probably yes in the Netherlands, but this is not the case for the Mediterranean. We consume a lot of kid meat.
Yeah, maybe Lawrence could elaborate on that.
No, Lauren was clear. She was talking about the Netherlands.
Oh, yes,
And
yes.
the answer is in the Netherlands, maybe, but not in the Mediterranean.
Right.
We don't kill them, we eat them.
We eat them.
After they
You
grow
kill them and eat them.
Yes.
All right. How is the milking efficiency compared to that of the dairy cow?
Milking efficiency defined as what? That's quite difficult. The feed efficiency?
Yes, I would assume that.
I think it's a little bit, I don't remember the numbers, but I think it's a little bit higher than dairy cow, but I'm not 100% sure.
And this, let's see, nutritional value, I think you covered.
Wait. Let's
Go
back
ahead.
up to that.
Oh my God.
Go, Tom.
No, let's look at it this way. Andreas, go back up to some of your lactation curves.
For cows or for goats?
Well, we can do both. Okay. So yeah, let's do the goats. Let's just do the goats.
Yeah.
Okay. So that top curve where they peak at a little over 2.6 kilos. What kind of body weight are we talking about on goats like that?
About 50, 60. We are talking about Murciano Granadina. They will be around 50, 55 kilos.
55 kilos. So, so 2.5 divided by 55 is, that's only 4.5% of body weight at peak. Some of the other curves that you showed them higher peaks. From the data that I've seen, and if we look at it that way, goats can be equal. They can be slightly higher in terms of production as a percent of body weight. And I think that's a good metric to look at when comparing species. These little critters can be extremely efficient in terms of milk production.
Yeah, I think they are a little bit more efficient than cows. I don't remember the number.
Tom, is this isn't this some of the argument that is used that jerseys are more efficient than?
Yeah, but that's been disproven when they put the cows in calorimetry chambers.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Don't tell me that though.
They're the same.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to make sure that I've hit all of the questions, and I believe that I have. Oh, no, I have another one. Let's see. Sanin does well in the US and will peak at 14 plus pounds per day. I can't,
6 kilos.
Tom can quickly.
Yeah, 6 kilos.
All right. And body weight would be 150 to 175 pounds when mature. So,
so 50, 55 kilos. So yeah, that gets us peaks of 10, 11% of body weight. That's kicking ass. Find me Holstein herds that we will have more than 2 or 3% of the cows peaking over 11% of body weight. There's not many.
And we haven't even talked about feed intake.
Yeah, but let's just keep it as simple as possible.
Right.
No, so if we take a 1,700 pound cow peaking at 11% of body weight, that means that she's going to be peaking at 190 pounds. Okay, they're out there. There's not many.
Yep.
Okay. Unless I get more questions, I'm going to say that we have.
Can I say again, just to, excuse me, Marianne?
Yes.
Can we just point out this again because we need to have a next session more focused on what you actually need. Okay, if they can fill it, this questionnaire, it will give me a good idea of what I'm going to discuss next time.
Yes, and you will all get this link in your follow-up email. So,
Okay. Yeah.
all right. And Tom and Andreas, do you want to have any more discussion before I close out the webinar?
No, I think this was a good introduction. Thank you, Andreas.
Yes. Thank you,
for the
Andreas.
invitation. And I hope we will do many more webinars, more focused.
Yes, we got some really tremendous response. So thank you everyone for attending, and we hope to see you in December. Andreas, thank you so much. Tom, thanks for joining.
Yep, Andreas, be online with you next week.
Yes, I know. Have a good one. Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.